Alright, I think that looks good. Hopefully it sounds good. My computer's pretty loud in here. So I took inspiration from Rain and thought I would do a team breakdown, post-draft, preseason analysis video. And since I'm not playing, I thought it'd be kind of fun to do and, kind of keep me involved. Make it a little bit more fun for me to watch, maybe. I don't know. Let's see. I thought about doing RSL as well. I probably won't. This took a lot longer than I thought. 5 minutes of time for each team is an hour, and it just takes a while to break down. I wish I broke this down even further. There's so much more I could talk about with each team. It felt like so. Let me just double check. No, I think it's good. If it's not working, we'll figure it out. I'm not gonna rank the teams or anything. I'm just going in draft order. Is there anything else I wanted to say? I'm not too sure. Yeah, so. Whoops. Let's go ahead and start with Flanders Flagons. Coach Ronan, 19-7 record all time, 73 win percentage is really cool. Regular season 1 seed, season 3 finalist, season 4 Final Four appearance, so made Final Four both seasons. Third best differential season. The other two are Nick, so really cool. Tied with Taco for most MML playoff wins of the active coaches left. Tied for second most MML wins of the active coaches, and he's only lost to me and Taco in the playoffs, who was the champion and runner-up respectively. So off to a really good start in here. Very good coach, not much to say, and I think his team's really good too. Got Dragapult with the first pick, which is a great pick. Nick did really well with it last season. There's so many things you can do with it. So yeah, and Zarude's really cool. Moltres is cool, especially because no one else on the team is really weak to rocks. And you have two pretty good spinners with Quavel and Scissor. I wasn't big on Quavel as a spinner, but the more I've seen it, it's a real deal spinner. It has so many tools, it's crazy. U-turn and flip, brick break for screens, the Aqua Step, bulk up, and when you build him bulky, he can actually tank hits pretty well. So I've been really surprised. I know when I first looked at it, it wasn't I was like, is it gonna be a good bulky water? But no, it definitely can do that role. A below average ground type, I think Sandaconda, he's definitely has some interesting tools. Don't get me wrong, and with the sand spit, if you can get the Spadef boost, there's some interesting stuff there, but this seems potentially susceptible to Volt Spam. I really don't think it's that big a deal, though, because Zarude and Pult both can offer some help with that. Sylveon is for, special as a special wall. So I don't think it's that big of an issue, honestly. But it's just not something I would like to do. I wouldn't want Sandaconda to be my ground. But, I have a lot of faith in Ronan. I think he'll make it work. Be interested to see. Good speed tiers. Pult obviously helps that a lot. Lycanroc is a little suspect at 112, but he definitely has, again, he has tools and he can do things. And I think in the right hands, you can get some value out of him. A really good physical special split. Great momentum. The only two guys, again, are those same two, Midday and Sandaconda, who I don't think you're going to bring them every week. So it's not again, most of the people have momentum options, which is really cool. Some good options in phasing. You're probably not going to detail with Pult, but it's not impossible. Zarude Roar is interesting. Moltres Roar, didn't even know it got that. Sylveon Roar is pretty cool. The Dunsparce detail is always cool. good screens removal, a couple Psychic Fangs users, defog, brick break. Priority, it looks pretty good. Quaquaval Aquajet's hard to fit, and Scissor BP is really cool. Polt Sucker is valuable, and Lycanroc SL, so definitely not bad prio. I like it. A lot of setup options, a lot of scary setup options too, like Toxicity, Shift Gear, something. It's really cool to see Toxicity drafted. It definitely has a lot of value, and I'd like to see someone do well with it. Some cool abilities too. Clear Body, Infiltrator on Polt. You have obviously Sand Rush with Sandaconda's, is it Sandspit, I think is the name of it. Moxie on Quaquaval is really cool. Flame Body Moltres is obviously cool. Uxie Levitate, which I'm pretty sure Uxie's the really bulky one. So really cool Levitator and potentially good like Terra user. I have to see about that. Anything else about this? Totally misspelled options there. No, I mean, not much to say. It's just a really good team. I think it'll do well. Obviously, with his record, I think it'll do well. Up next, we have Mokoholo, Coach Rain, the commissioner. 10-7 record all time. He was a takeover coach in season 3, so doesn't have as many games played, but didn't make playoffs this last season. So really excited to see, how Rain does this season. Let's take a look at his team. Let's see. So missing types. Oh, that was the last thing I wanted to say on Ronin's team real quick. Only missing an ice type. That's really good. Like, if there's a type to miss, it's ice. Some missing types: dragon, flying. He does have a levitator. I wanted to mention, and then ice. Again, ice you don't really care about. Dragon is not that big a deal, but there are a lot of cool resistances dragons offer, and most of them are really good. But I don't think that's like necessarily a bad thing. Actually, let me, just in case, I need to see something. Sorry, Rain. Slowing down your thing, just in case anything's like being weird. Okay. I shouldn't have opened that. Alright, back to the team. Oh yeah, so he has Sneasler. I love Sneasler. I think that's a really cool mon. Also, Decidueye is a guy I like. Rotom Heat. I saw Nick get a lot of value out of Tinkaton. Arachnid I've always believed in. Ursaluna I just used. It's really fun. So a lot of cool mons and stuff I'm interested in as well. Potentially weak to ground spam. As we mentioned, no flying. But you do have Decidueye and Heatom, so that helps a lot. And I think you might be able to get away with it. But it's just something to be aware of. The priority is pretty weak on this team. Can't lie. Quick Attack, Sneasler, you're probably never running that. And then Decidueye has decent ones in Sneak and Sucker, but I think he tends to give more value as a defensive piece, in my opinion. But don't get me wrong, you can run him offensive for sure. But I think it's just tougher to fit. A U-turn, defog, and synthesis set. And then you're going to add like Sneak or Sucker, so that's just not going to be that strong. So that's one thing. Hazard removals, a little suspect. Decidueye, I really like as a defogger. Colossal is a spinner. He's one I don't totally believe in, but he does have valuable tools, so it's not like impossible to make him work. I think it's just a little bit trickier. But I think you'll have to bring Decidueye a lot more, but that's okay. That's not a terrible thing. He's a good grass and ghost type. But we'll see. And I mean, you can be Boots, Rotom on this team. Arachnid you probably don't care about so much. It's not like they're super weak to hazards either. So I don't know if that's the biggest deal. Team has really good setup, but one thing is like the immediate offense seems a little tough, especially on the special side. Again, a lot of guys like Luna and Arachnid are two of your harder hitters, and Luna still needs the Guts activate, and they're both kind of slow, so it's just one thing I'd be a little concerned about. Really good ability. I mean, great abilities. Soundproof, bulletproof, guts, water absorb, flash fire, flame body, intimidate, stake out, levitate, mold breaker. I mean, amazing abilities. Unburden. I mean, static. These really good abilities. Like I said, really pretty good setup. Priority is just a little thing I'd be concerned about, and maybe a little bit more immediate offense. Like Sneasler's, again, he's a really good example of that, but like Manaphy needs his setup, Tinkaton's not quite that, immediately strong. Rotom Heat really likes a nasty plot unless you're Specs. That might, like, you might be able to get away with it with that. Again, Luna, if you can get him in with those before the Flame Orb gets like knocked off, or, whatever. So it's definitely possible. It just seems like it might be a little tough. And then two Hazers, Manaphy and Decidueye, and then Roar Luna is actually really interesting. I don't know if I got to run Roar on that, but I think he actually can do it. He's bulky enough if you're running him defensive. And by the way, I'm sorry if I'm missing anything from these lists. Like, I don't have like Fake Out on Prio or anything. There's a lot of phasing moves I wanted to mention too, that like Trop Kick, low sweep type moves, stuff like that. There's a bunch of them. I'm only it took a long time just to even get these things down, and I'm trying to do things that are a little bit more threatening, I guess would be a thing. So yeah, again, Moko I think has a good team. Good speed tiers too, I think. Hit a 150, a 120, I mean 100. Got someone in there, Tinkaton, Heat. Not too bad. A good spread. So we'll see how he goes. Up next is Oscar. 8-3 record. 70% win record. That's only an RSL. RSL champion. MML promotion team, obviously, because he won. Wins championship in his first season of draft ever, I'm pretty sure. If that's correct. I'm pretty sure it's correct. That was his first one ever. So that's really cool. It's like an insane way to start. So we'll get into his team. So his team I actually have two separate pages for, because he did make a trade recently. I wish I got this video out before this, but I just didn't. So, so I'll look a little bit at this one. One thing that I noticed about it, you have Valiant, which is a great first pick. Borderline, I mean, we had it banned when we were running the league, so I definitely think it's a good mod. Missing types on this team are Poison, Ice, Rock. One of seeing, I think he changed it where he grabs a Poison, so less of a big deal. Tinglu plus Corv, I don't love the combo. I'd way more prefer Spin, because Tinglu loves to hazard stack, so they're kind of like fighting each other. Corv really wants to defog and keep stuff off, and Tinglu wants to get up rocks, so really think Spin would have been better. You can just have rocks be up. It's not like the worst thing into your team, but I don't want to talk too much about this team because this team's changing a lot. So let's actually look at the season, or the second version of the team, since after week 1 this will be the guys. So much like the other team, you still have Tinglu Corv, so like I said, don't love that. Now you're missing an electric type. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it means you can struggle against bulky water types, and potentially some flying types are actually pretty bulky too. A lot of the ones that get drafted tend to be. So it's definitely good to have an electric type and one that hits strong. But it's not like necessarily the worst thing. But the Tinglu core thing, I would definitely reconsider that, or are you just accepting that, if you're bringing Tinglu, that you're not going to try to defog, or I'm just curious how that's playing. Team's still pretty slow. One guy above 100 is not ideal. I would like to have 116 can be your fastest. Like, that's not that necessarily a big deal. Like, you can have 120s are good to have, but they're not a necessity for me. But a 105, a 100 guy maybe to kind of like help out just a little bit, and one preferably better than Swanna. I mean, Swanna's not that great Typhlosion H is cool for sure. Petron is usually built bulky. So is Cresselia. So the 80's not like the strongest stuff there. So I mean, mostly Corv, Defog. Again, if you're going to keep off rocks, you're going to have to bring Corv with Defog a lot, which Ting Lu doesn't like. Yeah, again, Swanna, I mean, you added Swanna as Defog, but it's not, great. Okay, momentum, it's a little bit better now with Parting Shot like Petron and U-turn Corv, flip turn on Swampert, and, that helps a little bit. It's still not the best. And then weak Prio. V-Wave Valiant is really strong. It's a really good Prio to have, but it's not the easiest to fit all the time. So that's that. Not the best abilities. There's definitely some good stuff here that you can still use. Again, notable abilities are just like things that pretty much offer a little bit more prep and are not always as obvious that they have. Like Valiant, you guys know he has the Cork Drive or whatever. Like, I'm not gonna put it, even though it's notable, because it gives them speed boosts and stuff. But yeah, decent hazard setting, Stealth Rock, Swampert, Ting Lu, but again, you're defog, so that's tricky. Decent hazing too, Whirlwind, Dragon Tail, Hydrapple, even Roar Swampert could be interesting. You're not going to use this one. Yeah, so definitely would like to probably see some changes to this team. But you got a lot of good names, so you might be able to do some stuff, like with Pert and Ting Lu and Corv, Cresselia and Valiant. But I'm just not sure how good this team's going to be. But I don't know, too. I mean, Oscar did well, so maybe maybe he sees something I don't. Up next is Adelaide Honchgrows, Rainbow Taco, 19-7 record, tied, same exact record as Ronan, which is funny. Let's see, MML Season 3 Final Four appearance and Season 4 finalist, Master of the Taco Special, tied for the most MML playoff wins and second most ML wins of the active coaches. Yeah, because they're both at 19 and Mitch is at 20. So yeah, again, we talked about this when we talked about Ronan, and he's also only lost to Ronan and Nick, aka runner-up and champ respectively. So again, Taco, really strong coach with a lot of good success in here. Okay, so when we look at his team, you're missing a ghost type and you're missing a rock. Not a big deal to miss a rock. Ghost can be, it's definitely can be frustrating, but it's not crazy. When I was first starting, I definitely didn't use ghost a lot, and I mean, really, if I didn't have Sinistra, who I really liked as a bulky ghost, I'm not sure. I'm trying to think. And then Dust Noir was a pretty bulky ghost too, Decidueye too. I think maybe like bulky ghosts tend to be a bigger deal, but it just because spin blocking and such. But anyway, again, it's not the biggest thing. Potentially weak to ground spam, I remember thinking. Your grass is fire, flying type's pretty frail with Kilo and no levitate or anything. Again, not the worst thing in the world. You might be able to get around that. Grounds don't always seem super strong, but it is what it is. Let's see. Healing seems a little scarce. Wish Clef's going to be really important on this team. No one else really has healing besides like Ogerpon, Hornleech, which you can definitely use and can get healing back from, but it's just not consistent. Good removal too with Donphan is a great spinner, and Girder with the Eviolite definitely interests me as a defogger. But your top two guys are weak to rocks in Pon and Kilo, so I mean I hope they can get the job done. Blastoise could run into similar issues with Donphan. Since they're both spinners. I think I would have liked to maybe instead of Blastoise and Girder, turning them into a better defogger, and maybe do something like that. But again, I think this team isn't like bad or anything. Team is a little slow after Pon, but you're gonna bring Pon a lot, so that's not a big deal. At least I don't think. I think you can get away with that. I feel like Pon you're gonna bring just about every week. Uh, and then Kilo's a little suspect. I used Kilo season 1 on a rain team, and I did well when I brought it, but he also looked really hard to bring into. He just doesn't hit that hard unless you're like specs or something, and then you're not guaranteed faster, and you're so frail that like U-turns take like half your health sometimes. So yeah, that'd be a main concern. Kiram needs like the DD set, which I think the specs like special or Scarf special side's more interesting. Um, Overquill with I didn't put it down, but Swift Swim too. I'm pretty sure he gets that. I should double check. Alright, my computer's gonna be slow. Well, even if it doesn't update. I'm pretty sure Overquill gets Swift Swim, which is really cool because there's 2 rain teams this season. Oh my god. We'll just go back to Intimidate. Oh no. Anyway, but yeah, having a Swift Swimmer and one that doesn't need to be Swift Swim, and he's just here as your like Dark type Intimidator. Potential Haze too is really cool. Really like Overquill. I think that's a cool mon. I wish I got to draft it and use it. Just again, Spikes, T-Spikes, really cool. A really good setting on this team: Metagross, Clefable, Donphan, even like Charjabug. If you're Sash, you have a chance. Yeah, so really cool. Decent setup. I mean, Ogerpon, SD Trailblaze is like borderline enough, Again, Kyurem DD. I still like Specs better, but it's possible. Blastoise Shell Smash is interesting if you can make that work. Metagross has Agility, which is a real threat for him. Clefable with the Cosmic Power and even just a simple Calm Mindset is really cool. And then Strong Prio, I remember thinking. Overquill, Aqua Jet. Metagross Bullet Punch is obviously a big one. Donphan, Ice Shard. Even Girder's Mach Punch. Because, like, Girder's not that weak. I feel like he's like 105 attack or something. I should be double checking this, but I'm not. But again, even just Ice Shard, Bullet Punch, Aqua Jet is pretty cool. And then, oh yeah, Meloetta a quick attack actually. He's actually one of the few quick attacks that's actually like a real deal. And some cool abilities: Clear Body, Unaware, Sturdy, Guts, Mold Breaker, Competitive. So really excited to see what Taco does. Really cool coach. Alright, up next is Mitch, the OG. 20 and 22 record all time, just under 500. I'd like to see that number get above 500. That'd be sick. To have Mitch have a really good season this time around. Seems reinvigorated. MML Season 1 Final Four appearance and a Season 2 playoff appearance. He has the most wins of the active coaches because he's been here since the beginning. 20 wins. Like we said, Taco and Ronan are the next highest with 19. So Mitch could keep him behind him with a good season. I like to see it. And I think he has a really good team too. Don't know what happened here. I might have lost some info. Anyway, but yeah, Thundy Eye at the top, Keldeo, Sinistcha Incin is a really cool defensive core that like just covers each other so well. So really interested to see how that goes. Conkeldurr as a defogger. You have Grimoire Mortal Spin and Hatterene Magic Bounce. So some really good options on hazard removal or at least like blocking. Magic Bounce is kind of not removal necessarily, but it blocks hazards and makes people think about it, so it's worth putting there. Missing a normal type, that's not uncommon. Missing a bug, technically, Cutie Fly doesn't count, but also bug types, again, not that important. Bug, Rock, Ice are not like super important types, and like normal can be good to have for sure. Like it can help with a ghost spam issue, but it's not a big deal to not have. The only Steel being Doug A is a little concerning. Hat will have a lot to do versus dragons. You have a really good fairy, but it's something I'd be concerned about. And but if you're open to Terra Steel a lot, I think it's okay. And I mean, me and Nick were talking about it. Steel isn't like it's such a good defensive typing, and the mon's really good, but it doesn't really open up a huge hole in a team other than like poison spam, I guess. But if you have a poison type like Glim, you have, so That's okay. I don't think it's totally the worst thing. I feel like I've always, for me, the way Nick talks about his fire types, like his fire types are always his captains, or at least like they do really well for him. That's how I feel about steel types. I had Scissor, I had Heatran. Who the heck was the? I'm terrible for not remembering my season 3 steel right now. Oh, Corviknight, Jesus. And then season 4. I don't know. I don't like to talk about season 4. But yeah, when I'm doing well, I feel like I have a good steal. Or no, season 1 was Treads too. Treads and Scissor. Anyway, getting sidetracked here. Good setting, I believe. Yeah, Gastrodon, Stealth Rock, and Spike. Sticky Webs on Cutiefly, you can probably get off. Doug Trio, Stealth Rock, Sash sets are interesting. Glim is a great setter of all the stuff. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember if he actually gets T-Spikes. No, I don't care. Moving on. A little weak to rocks, but you have the stuff on paper, like we said. You have a good Defogger and Conk and Glim, Mortal Spin. I don't know if I'd call it a good spinner, but it's definitely, I think, fast enough that you can get it off. And he has sneaky bulk if you're just not getting hit by a ground type. And I like the difference with, well, Conk and Glim both being weak to Psychic's a little frustrating. But, you know, I think you can get it done. Decent momentum, Thundy, good. Keldeo, Flip Turn is good enough. Incern has really good momentum, and then Hatterene, Baton, so definitely interesting. Great setup options too. A lot of good setup stuff. Like Cutiefly obviously doesn't matter that much, but like Dragonite is a great setup option. You know, Keldeo, Calm Mind can be scary. Thundy with Plot and Bulk Up. Even Agility. I think Agility is a really scary setup option that people don't think about enough. Not that it's, you know, not that you have to like over prep for it, but it's just something to like, you know, be aware that they have it, just because there's a lot of games I remember looking back where it's like, man, if they popped in Agility, I just lose. Or something. But yeah, a little weak. Ensign, Dragonite, and Thundy all weak to rocks is a little tough. So we'll see how that goes. But, you know, one of them can be Boots. You have Magic Bounce. That deters a lot. Creates one of, like, the worst turns I can think of, where you click rocks and then you end up having them on your side from a Magic Bounce back. Sounds terrible. I like the speed tiers, even without a 120 plus. I know I talked to him about it, and you know he definitely probably wanted someone a little bit faster. But I think 111's okay. It's, you know, and Thundy Eye is a real threat. Like, he's, after watching Nick use it, I mean, if you're creative with it and you're and you're breaking down their team, like, there's a lot you can do with him on the physical and special side. And at 111, he's like very respectable. So. And just being faster than 110 is pretty important. You know, the pool of 110 plus is pretty frail, and some of them are not very good, in my opinion. And he's definitely one of them that's really good. So I think it's a good pickup. I mean, a lot of good bulk, decent offense. Yeah, I really like this team, and I think Mitch is gonna do well. Let's see. Up next is Kansas City Keldeos and Kais. 15-8 record all-time across MML and RSL. These include playoff numbers as well. So, you know, 15-8 record, 65 win percent. The commissioner as well. RSL season 1, regular season 1 seed. He was a promotion team because of that, and had a season 4 Final Four appearance in MML. Which is really cool. And he lost to Dewey and Nick in playoffs, which I thought was funny because both of them ended up winning. So that's really cool. Well, it's not cool to lose, but I mean, I'd feel better losing to the champs than anything else, you know. I guess that probably doesn't sound. It's not fun to lose. All right, this team, I really like this team. I talked to Kais while I was drafting, and I like the stuff he was picking. Missing a rock and a ghost. Hunter doesn't count. He doesn't count as a ghost. He definitely counts as a real Mon because he has a lot of cool tools and the right stats, with his speed. So he definitely, he's not like someone you can ignore, but as a ghost type, you're not that worried about, him as a spin blocker is more of what I mean. You're not weak to rocks, and you have great removal options with Serena and Scyther Defog. Scyther really cool. Obviously, Nick reminded me that he has the same base BST as Scissor, but he gets to use Eviolite, so he's very bulky. 4 times weak to rocks is pretty tough though. As your defogger, you'll probably have to be boots, so that's just something to think about. But Zar's a really good spinner. Nick's done well with it. Great stat spread as well on that thing. So cool hazard options with Heat Ran and Mamoswine doing stealth rocks. T-Spikes Haunter is a thing, and then Tarantula if you want to bring Sash. You can get up web spikes, T-Spikes, a lot of cool stuff there. Screens removal is a little suspect. Scyther Defog if you're bringing it can help with that, but then the only other guy is Brick Break, Psychic Fangs, Okidogi. So I'd be a little concerned about that. If Scyther was someone you're bringing every week, I wouldn't worry about it too much, but usually there's more guys that have Brick Break on the team. That's just one of the things that I think could be missing from this team. Really good phasing. Haze, Roar, Umbreon, Prim, both really good users. Lottie Raikou you're probably not going to use, but they have it. Mamoswine, Haze, and Roar, not like super fun to use, but definitely can. Haze definitely interesting. Good prio options. Raikou E-Speed is something at least. Mamoswine Ice Shard is a really big deal, and Primarina Aqua Jet can find some use too. It's not amazing. I like the setup too. Raikou Calm Mind and even like Trailblaze has some stuff. Lottie, you can do scale shot stuff, which is pretty cool. Never thought about that, but Calm Mind sets are always scary. Mamoswine Trailblaze doesn't get any other setup really than Trailblaze. Curse kind of, but probably not going to run it that way. Mamoswine's just one of those guys it comes in and just takes kills. Most of the time. I love Heat Ran on this team. Don't remember if anyone else has drafted it since I drafted it season 2 and then again for like a minute. I can't remember if anyone else had Heat Ran. Someone else might have though. But he's a really cool Mon. He's one of those that doesn't have a whole lot to show for on this, like, again, this little chart or whatever you want to call this. These are just stuff I like to look at and I think are really good tools. A lot of them are part of Nicky G's like 9 things that he talks about. Speed control, removal, setting, momentum, phasing, all these things. So in having these options will make it easier when you're building like during the week and doing all that. So oh yeah, good momentum too. And the guys that don't have it, it's like Haunter, again, you're not bringing often. Mamoswine and Okidogi both have knock, and then Mamoswine has stealth rocks too, which are like pseudo momentum, because you get something out of the turn even though you don't get to switch. I think, yeah, Tarantula you're not bringing either. And then Heat Ran, stealth rocks too, so. And then cool abilities: Levitate, Thick Fat, Flash Fire, Queenly Majesty, Inner Focus, twice, Levitate twice too. So really cool abilities. I think it's a really good team. Kais has done really well, so I think he'll do well again. I don't know if there's anything else really to say. Yeah. Up next is a coach I don't know too much about, Chicken Boy. He's only got an 0-2 record as a takeover coach, so that basically tells us nothing. He's an unknown quantity. Taking over for a team isn't really that fun, and it's not a team you draft, so I don't really put a lot of stock in this. So definitely exciting and a good opportunity for him to show how good he can be. We'll take a look at his team. Let's see. Weavile. By the way, do you know Weavile got Baton Pass? I didn't know that. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's just like, I swear he had no momentum, but he actually has something. Um, Rabombi is really cool, like hazard setters. Slow King, GT spikes. Toad Scroll's okay. Tread, Stealth Rock, and Rabombi webs, like really cool setters. Very, like, they all have like something specific, but they're all really good at getting him up. So I think that's really cool. Screens removal is a little weak with Mana Buzz. You're going to want to bring defog a lot, because Weavile Brick Break, he has better moves he can run, even though it's not like the terrible thing. And like Brick Break Slow King, are you going to bring that? Mana Buzz also has the only phasing in Whirlwind, so that's a little scary. Getting set up on his potential. You do have a lot of offensive pressure with guys like Weavile and treads and getting up hazards, but it's just something that it'd be nice to have, like a haze guy or an unaware guy or something. Good spin, I think. Mandibuzz, Defog, and Tread spin, both really good. Treads is, he's up there as one of the best spinners, I think. The 4 times resist to rocks is really cool, so you don't really need boots, and then you're immune to the spikes, or not spikes, toxic spikes too. So it's pretty cool. So if they don't have spikes, don't really need boots on them. Let's see. Some good bulk. Slow King G is really bulky. With regen is obviously really great mon. Never got to use it, but prepping against it was a nightmare. I like Mandibuzz. I like Rotom Wash. I've always believed in Flamigo. Probably not as much as Chicken. It sounds like he believes in it a lot. But I think it can definitely do something, and at 90 speed, it's really interesting. I just never could really fit it on a team and make it work. Yeah, I'll be interested to see if he can do well with it. 2 120 speed guys, and then a 106 guy, so a bit of a gap, but that's not a big deal. Yeah, not the worst speed tiers around. A bit of a gap between like Titan and Slow King, because Morgrim's not that scary. So anyone faster there, but that's kind of where you want the gap to. Guys that are 60 or tend to be 60 and slower, 65 and slower tend to be bulky already, so it's not horrible. But I usually tend to prefer, like, a Toad Scroll could have been a 60 guy maybe, and like, Rabombi maybe could have been, like Vikavolt or something, I don't know. Something like that. Great abilities too. Sweet Veil, Flame Body, Scrappy, Levitate, Overcoat, like really cool stuff. Pretty good momentum, I think. So Titan, don't really need it, and Toad Scrolls, whatever. But yeah, Volt Switch. Some of it's like Baton Pass, Weaviles, Treads. Volt Switch is cool, but it's not very threatening. Volt Switch on Rotom is good. U-turn Flamigo, I think, is decent. Yeah, so a lot of cool stuff. Some decent setup opportunities. Spin is one thing I probably should have wrote in setup. Looking back at this, but that's not true on all guys, but it's definitely true on Treads. So a late game rapid spin, Treads can take over a game really quickly. So let's see, anything else? Priority is okay. 2 Ice Sharders, I remember thinking is a little rough. But yeah, definitely has some interesting tools, and again, I don't really know his playstyle and how he does, so it'll be interesting to watch him. Okay, up next is Gabe, another unknown quantity. 1-4 record as a takeover coach. Again, doesn't really tell me anything about him. It's not fun to take over for a team, and it's, you do the best you can, and he's 1-4, but that doesn't mean much to me. I'll be more interested to see how he does this season with a drafted team. He did make a trade. He dropped Pikachu and Florigato for Meowstic and Appleton. Missing types. He's missing a grass. Florigato doesn't count, and Appleton like half counts, honestly. No rock, ice bug. Again, those are the three types. If you're missing those, that's not a problem, at least in my opinion. Limited removal and hazards, but the options are good. I mean, Excadrill, Spin, and Cinderace Court Change, like, those are pretty, I mean, good options. Court Change is obviously a little frustrating, but, I mean, mostly just Excadrill. With his speed and bulk, you could figure out a way to get the spin off. Again, the Iron Treads typing, so really cool. Momentum, I think, is pretty bad. Cinderace U-turn's good. Zapdos Volt Switch is good, and then that's kinda it. Latias has Baton, but it's not amazing. Yeah, so that's one thing I don't particularly like about this team. Strong prio options. I think he definitely has strong prio options. Sucker and Quick Attack actually are valuable on Cinderace because of Protean. I mean, Maggie Sneak you could probably figure out a use for, or even Sucker. Not Excadrill. Quillfish H Aqua Jet is like not the strongest, but it's mainly these last three guys. Blood Moon's V Wave is pretty strong. Azumarill Aqua Jet is a known quantity, and then Hariyama Bullet Punch. We wrote V Wave because it's stab, but you ain't really clicking V Wave. Some cool abilities: 2 Levitators, 2 Statics, Lightning Rod. Even though it's on, actually drop that, so ignore that. But he did pick up a Grass Dragon, which is a 4 times resist, 2 electric, so miss out on Lightning Rod. I guess you gain that back, and you get a Prankstermon and Meow. I mean, decent speed tiers, I think. A little slow at the bottom. I mean, Blood Moon, Azumarill, Hariyama, if you're not bringing all 3. But if you bring Exca, Zap, Cinderace, or Lottie, I mean, I think you can make it work. A little bit of a gap. 85 Quillfish, 252 Blood Moon. I think Appleton is at 60 and kind of helps that, but again, he's just not that good. He has use. It's not like he's worthless or anything, but his thick fat ability is actually one thing that's cool about him, I'll say. And then Dragon Tail is always valuable. Yeah, we talked about that. Haze Quillfish is okay. Lottie Roar you're probably not going to use. Blood Moon Roar you could use. Hariyama Whirlwind's really cool for phasing. Brick Break, a few options for Brick Break. Screens removal. I don't think Meowstic M or Appleton have any of that. As far as I know, they don't. Yeah. Anything else? Sapsip, Berthic Fat. Swift Swim, again, is cool with the 2 rain teams. Alright. Z Jane up next. 12-9 record, that's all time with playoffs and regular season. RSL Season 1 finalist and an MML promotion team. Lost to Dewey, who was the champion, obviously. So, an above 500 record. This team is very fast, is one thing I remember thinking of and talking with Nick. Was something he noticed as well. Again, 122 guys above 120. Azelf, 115, 110. A bit of a gap, like you don't have any 100 or 105 guy, but 90, 90, 90, and then from 90 all the way down to Wheezing G at 60, because Vulpix is going to get ignored. It just will. And Wheezing doesn't tend to run speed. I know Ronan did run some speed on it, but he's also going to be your defogger, probably bulky defogger a lot of weeks. Avalugg is interesting. I think it's actually decent removal because Avalugg probably wants to be boots if you're going to run him as a spinner, and like sturdy boots is definitely good enough. I think Rain talked about it in his breakdown. That's definitely valuable. Wheezing G defog, I probably didn't used to believe in it as a removal guy, but I think he's bulky enough to get it done, so I don't think the removal's like terrible or anything. And then great options to set hazards. Azelf Stealth Rock. Gren spikes, T spikes, Gliscor. Ape getting Stealth Rocks is cool. Weezing G T spikes is so, again, he's just like with his defog. He gets in so easily, it seems, that it's easy to get him up. And then Quag has 3 of the hazards as well. So really cool options. It's a little annoying again with Weezing G. Defog is like your main guy if you're going to bring Avalugg spin a lot. I think that'll be something, but I just don't know if that's his plan. I have to see what he does. But I usually believe in Z-Jane. I think he is a good battler, so I'd be interested to see what he does with the team. Pretty weak Prio. Greninja Shuriken's really good, obviously, but Quick Attack Raichu and Gliscor is not that scary, and neither is V-Wave on Ape, so not my favorite thing, but pretty good options in terms of phasing and screen removal. A lot of options there, so. But yeah, I don't, like I said, bad speed tier's too fast. Yeah, I just don't like the gaps. I think teams will take advantage of that. But if you're gonna have bad speed tiers, then at least be fast. So I could probably rewrite that as something better, but it just seems a little top heavy. You could bring Gren, Torn, Azelf, Raichu, Gliscor, Gouging. That's 6 right there, so fast if you bring just those guys. But I don't know, maybe I'm not seeing the vision on that stuff. And then I think you have decent setup options too. Gouging obviously is the main one. Annihilate Bulk Up is real. Raichu A Plot is pretty scary, I remember when I prepped for it. Azelf Plot is pretty, Plot's always scary. SD Plots are always, get the +2 is just really tough in prep. It does have sneaky good abilities. Drought Vulpix is actually an interesting pickup. I don't know if I've seen anyone do that, and pairing that with Gouging Fire is really cool. All of Ape's abilities are really cool, always has been. Regen Torn is busted. Levitate Azelf's cool. Not the bulkiest guy, but again, if you can, immunity ability gives him a chance to get in, so. And he's fast. 115 is pretty fast for most teams. Did anyone else think Avalugg had Ice Shard? I thought it had Ice Shard this whole time. I guess it didn't when I was looking. Anything else to say about this team? I don't know. Just be interested to see what Z-Jane's cooking. Up next is Coach New, another OG. 15-26 record across MML and RSL. Part of that has to do with, was it 0-11 season or something? So if you take that out, it's not that bad of a record. MML Season 1 playoff appearance, RSL Season 2 regular Season 1 seed, so had a strong bounce back. RSL Season 2 finalists and earned promotion through the 1 seed. He lost to Palfins and Oscar, the runner-up and eventual champ in those seasons, so again, not definitely something to look forward to for him, and chance to do good. And then we will look at. Okay, so this was the Jugulus team, or Chaladon. This is the first Rain team, I think, and then, yeah, Bacher is the other one. So, obviously Bacher had the better Hazard Setter, but Politoed definitely has some interesting tools. Haze is really cool, and Water Absorb as you can definitely figure weeks where you might not care for Drizzle, and might just run Water Absorb to block Flip Turn, but you kind of already have that with Ogerpon Wellspring. That was one thing I remember thinking about this team, is that maybe you could turn his points into someone better or something like that. You're missing a normal type. Again, we talked about that's not that big a deal. Ghost, not the worst thing in the world, but they're nice to have. Psychic is not that big a deal. It's definitely nice to break fightings and poisons. Offensively, it's okay. It's not amazing or anything. They do have a lot of tricks though, which is one thing Psychics tend to have. Ice type, again, don't really care. Decent removal options with Decidueye, HD Fog. After watching Ronan use it really bulky, actually, I've like come around on Decidueye. I think he's really good, and can be a decent defogger. And then Fortress with spin and sturdy. You can always run boots and guarantee one spin off. And then Talonflame defog is another option too, but also needs boots to do that job well. Really good hazard options too. Again, Clodsire is, I mean, basically carries the show on that one. Archaludon getting Stealth Rock and Ogerpon having spikes is really cool. Fortress having the same things as Claude. I think pretty good momentum. Archaludon again has Stealth Rock, Pseudo Momentum, and also just really good. So not that big a deal. Politoed, if it was Pelipper, it would have been this team's momentum would have been really good. And then Claude again has 3 types of hazards, so pseudo momentum option in that way. Pretty weak prio options. Floatzel Aquajet in the rain is a real deal, but Sneak Sucker on Decidueye H, I think again he'll be more useful as a bulky grass type, bulky fighting type. So prio, is not the best. Pretty good screens removal and hazing options though. I mean, some of them are kind of fake, like Jolteon and Floatzel Roar, like whatever. But Jugulus, Detail Roar, I think you can work with. Same with Arch. And then Unaware and Haze on Clodsire is huge. Haze on Decidueye is huge. And Politoed, I think, can get it done. And again, another team with really cool abilities. Volt Absorb, Flame Body, Swift Swim, Water Absorb, Sturdy, and then Stamina on Archaludon is really scary. Again, Water Absorb again, Scrappy, Sturdy and Overcoat, even though it's mostly just Sturdy, and then Unaware, Water Absorb. So cool abilities, cool stuff to work with in Open Terra. Ghost Spam could be potentially tough with your Dark type being Jugulus, but I think if you build it defensively, you might be able to get around that. And that's also like not that crazy because Ghost is a pretty easy spammable move. Yeah. Abilities. Let's see, coming up on 52 minutes with 2 more teams. Take that as pretty good. Up next is Bacher. 2 seasons in RSL, has a 14-8 record, including the playoffs. RSL Season 1 playoff appearance and Season 2 playoff appearance. Did he make Final Four? I think so. I probably should. I think that was one more thing for Season 2. But yeah, my bad on that one. But still really good. I think Bacher's definitely shown consistency. So I think it's very interesting. And he has a rain team, and he has the better setter in Pelipper, I think. He made some changes too. He picked up Cyclizar, Bramblegast, and Wishcash tongue twisters. So we got better spinners because Cragnole does have spin, but it's not that great in my opinion. He's got the Spadef, but that ice typing again, I don't love it unless like Avalugg with the insane stats, and sturdy. But yeah, missing an electric type. That's again on a rain team. I think I feel like you would just get one by accident, right? Helps with you can run Thunder if you want. I mean, I think it's a little weird to not have it, and you might want those too if you're running rain. You're probably going to face their water type most weeks, so you have Meowscarada. So that's one thing that you can get around that. I think is you have such a strong, hard-hitting grass type. So we'll see if that's an issue for him, but it might not be. It's a little top-heavy, I remember thinking, with Scooda, Meow, like Fez, Lando, Gold, Pelipper, probably like your top 6 most of the time. But they're a good top 6, with the rain team, and Meow's strong, Goldango's good, Pelipper is good, Fez is good, Lando's good. I mean, I think you can do a lot with that. I don't know if that's necessarily an issue. I don't love the similarity of the 2 spinners, both being 120 speed, Defog, and Rapid Spin for Noivern, and Cyclizar is the new addition. Um, both dragons, both similar speed tier, both not super offensively threatening. Although they do have a lot of tricks, both of them, which is cool. And obviously the speed tier helps give you a chance to get those things off. But I just don't know if that's great. And now also 4 guys above 120 speed tier is like pretty unnecessary. I think just some overkill. If you build Noivern and Cyclizar bulky, maybe it's not that big a deal since they'll effectively be like lower, but it's like a little fast. He did well with gold last season, so I'm glad he's bringing that back, something he trusts. Pretty good momentum, I think. He dropped. I don't know. Did Brambleghast have momentum? Does not. He has Spikes, Sneak, Rapid Spin, Trailblaze. Cyclizar does have U-Turn, and Wish Cash does not. So dropped Infernape, but he got back Cyclizar, so that feels good. Scuda Flip Turn's good. Meow U-Turn's good. Noivern U-Turn's cool. Fez U-Turn. Lando U-Turn. Gold Tango doesn't have it, but he doesn't really need it. Plot is really cool, and he just deals a bunch of damage every time. I mean, we lost the hazing on Cryogonal and Baratic. Baratic's another one where it's like, I get why you have him because of Swift Swim, but I think Sin said it in the comments of Rain's last video. Maybe Rain even mentioned it too, but 50 speed tier is just really slow for a Swift Swimmer. I tried it with Vileplume on the Sun team. It just makes you sad, honestly. Wish Cash, Spikes, and Stealth Rock's cool. Cycles quick attacks actually really cool too. Scuda Aqua Jet is strong. Sucker Punch Meow. So decent Prio 2, some decent setup, cool abilities. Yeah, so interested to see how this team goes. And final team. Wrap this up in 3 minutes, hopefully. Sin, the honorary OG, 17-11 record all time, 61%. Very good. MML Season 3 and Season 4 playoff appearances. Takeover coach in Season 2. Second most kills in a season all time. The other guy is Nick. So really cool company. One thing I will say about this team, I think it's way too fast, and I don't like the speed tiers at all. But again, like we were mentioning with ZJane's team, I think if you're going to have not that good of speed tiering, then at least be fast, because there's more you can work with fast teams. It's really hard to work with slow teams. Only Rapid Spin Tusk for removal. The team's not overly weak to rocks either, but I would feel like you need to bring it all the time, and that's, again, not necessarily a bad thing, but it would just be nice to have the option to defog. Screens removal, decent. Thundy T Brick Break's not, it's not nothing. Slay King's fake, not going to count that. Psychic Fangs Arcanine is cool, and Brick Break Tusk is an option as well on a more defensive set or utility set. So, but again, I feel like if you just had defog on this team, it would be really sure up some of that. Jirachi Stealth Rock's cool. Hydreigon Stealth Rock, really cool rock setters. Arcanine, Tusk, a lot of guys could do it. Gengar T-Spikes is a cool lead. I think the momentum's pretty good too. Jirachi, U-Turn, Thundy, U-Turn, or Thundy, yeah, both of them. Even Shaman Baton, because he's 100 around, might be bulky enough to get use out of that. I'm going to ignore Comfy, because Comfy sucks, and he knows that. Hydreigon U-Turn, it's not the strongest, but it's not nothing. Water type's a little frail in Inteleon. We'll see if he has any struggle with that. There's ways around it, again, like your water type. He's got Arcanine, H, and Hydreigon for fire moves, and Hydreigon can take the water moves. But that's something that you could be potentially spammable on. And your normal types, even though I did put it in the missing, I actually did put it in the missing types, I ended up updating that. But yeah, you kind of have a fake normal because Slay King is like you're not going to prep for that very much, and is what it is. Special split, special physical split is pretty good. Yeah, I mean, not too much to say. A lot of scary teams when we're going through them. A few things that maybe a few teams could change a little bit to make them better, but I don't have like major problems with too many of the teams. And like we were talking about, there's a lot to look at each coach and be excited about something, you know. So it's an exciting season. I'm considering doing a weekly podcast thing or whatever this you want to call this thing, stream, I guess. Just talking about how the matches went. We'll see if that goes, but I figured we start with this and see if we liked it. So, all right, we'll end the rambling here. Potentially see you next week.